watched it right after I recorded it to see if it was worth a replay, to see what he did, and it looks like I saved it because it was. So I was really trying to look for some games where I'm playing Zerg and I'm beating Terran, because for the longest time I had a really hard time versus Terran players when I was Zerg, but because of the Terran nerfs, especially to Reapers, allowing Zerg players to get their fast expand so easily with very little threat of losing it, Zerg have really become one of my easiest matchups versus Terran. My Protoss versus Terran is really all about expanding them as well, generally 1 or 2 gateway expanding. It's a little risky, but it can really pay off and win you the game. Now it looks like I have 8 Mutalisks here, and I'm going to try and roll into his base and see what I can take out. He did see me moving out, I guess, with them, moving off the main part of the army. So he knows that they're out somewhere. And I'm going to roll in and try and take out as many of these SCVs as possible. Looks like I'm going to take out 2 or 3. More like 3 or 4 maybe. I'm trying to pick off that supply depot before he rolls over. And it looks like it might burn down if he doesn't repair it. Yeah, it does burn down, so I did manage to take that out. Now this is really why Mutalisks are so devastating to these Terran ground armies. It's so easy to fly around and maneuver and really outrange all of these Marines. They're not going to be able to get to you, they're not going to be able to hold it off, and an expansion is extremely hard to hold on to when you're harassing both their main and their expansion. Now throwing up missile turrets, of course, very helpful. They're very powerful against Mutalisks, but about 12 Mutalisks can 2-shot a turret, really cutting through it fairly easily, so that's kind of a hard option to hold on to as well. Now I do have a really good sized force of Banelings and Zerglings here for that ground army that I saw, producing a little bit more of them to supplement these Mutalisks. You notice I've only built 4 more Mutalisks, but I've built, it looks like I doubled my Zergling count. And it does look like I have 2 queens now, so I'm not as bad as I was doing, although I'm not injecting, so I guess I'm still kind of bad. I have a Hydralisk Den down here, just in case I want to build those. That's really the great thing about Zerg. You throw down the tech building, and at any moment, bam, you can have 50 of those, as long as you have the resources, whenever you want. Now I am going to run away from this turret and just harass these supply depots, because that's going to force them to rebuild these supply depots, which are, you know, a good chunk of change. They're 100 each, and it looks like I'm going to pick off 2 of them. I'm going to move up, and okay, it looks like it takes 3 or 4 shots to take out a missile turret with this mini. Really has a fairly light composition of Marines in his army. Oh, there they all are coming up. So I'm not going to be able to hold against this force. So I'm going to go ahead and try and sneak away with as minimal casualties as I can, losing 8 Mutalisks here, and I'm going to lose the rest. But it's alright, because I have the counter to his army, which is all these Banelings. I'm going to go ahead and roll them out. I'm guessing I'm going to try and run into them. Looks like I'm using a lot of these Banelings on these Hellions. Not the best choice, but at the same time really defending your Zerglings from getting flamed down. Took out a few Marines there, it looks like about 6. I'm going to morph some more Banelings. Now these do take 20 seconds to morph, so it's important to anticipate how many units are going to be coming and morph them as soon as possible. Those Mutalisks are heading around back, and I'm going to try and swing in and take out what I can. They're going to pick off this Viking. Meanwhile, he's still on my creep, so that really helps. He does have stim, but he only has 1 medvac, so that's really hurting his cause. And I have a few Hydralisks here ready to help take it out. Now these Banelings are going to roll in and clean out that entire ground army very quickly. All the Marines are dead, of course, because they die in pretty much 2 hits to the Banelings. And these Mutalisks are free to roam the air once again, as all of the Marines have died. He's down to 5 Marines, a Viking, and a Hellion for his army. He hasn't really rebuilt his SCV force as much as he should have either. I took it down from 34 to about 20 a minute or 2 ago. So here we have the Terran players always try and defend their command centers, but they never defend their actual production buildings. So in these cases, all you want to do is just roll up and just start taking out their production buildings. There's not really much they can do to stop you. Once you have the army size advantage, these few Marines aren't going to take out anything. The damage is going to bounce with these and take out any building you really want to focus down. and really not too slow. Yeah, it takes about 15-20 hits, but that's really the time it takes to build 2 or 3 Marines. Not really going to hold off for this many Mutalisks. Now I've taken out 2 of his production buildings, so he's down to a barracks, a factory, and a starport. It really doesn't have that much left. It looks like I am moving up with some Banelings, morphing them, and quite a few more Zerglings, Mutalisks, and those 3 of the 4 original Hydralisks I built to deal with medvacs. I did scout a smaller composition, so I didn't get that many Hydralisks. Now I'm going to roll up with these Mutalisks and see what damage I can do. And I scout that there really isn't that much of an army left. So I'm going to roll in with these, or he's going to GG as I take out this. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and GG. So this was really keeping and holding that first expansion, fending off that first push. Of course, you need to move your spine crawlers around. I almost called them sunken colonies, StarCraft 1 there. You need to move your spine crawlers around as much as possible to prevent any type of Hellion harassment around the back, especially on maps like Zelnogga Caverns where it has such an open back. But he didn't really do that. He just went for a frontal assault, though he did kind of come over here on the side, did get some damage in, but was taken out and surrounded by Zerglings. And you really want to keep just enough of a force that you can fend off what they have. You don't want to overproduce on regular units unless you scout a large army coming and you need to respond, because you need to keep that economic advantage on the Terran player at all times when you're playing Zerg. It's the only way you're going to win. Keep the economic advantage. Spread your creep. I got creep about halfway across the map. Probably could have gone a little bit further. He did scan and take out my tumor over here that was able to drop another tumor, so I did lose going up that side, which is a little unfortunate, but it happens. It's a lot better than a Raven rolling out and taking out all of them. So this was a Terran or Zerg vs Terran game, me playing Zerg and fending off, holding your natural expansion with Lings, Banelings, and Mutalisks to win the game.